Weird science
is the revolution.
Superior Spider-Man, number 3, written by Dan Slott, pencils by Mark Bagley, inks by John Dell, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna.
Mark Bagley adds a sense of gravitas to this.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like an uphill battle to actually tell people that this book is, decent enough. You'll say more than that. I talked about it before that I thought it was a misplay. Last issue came out the same week as Spider-Boy and featured Spider-Boy. This week, you don't have any Spider-Boy in this issue. Mm-hmm. He's mentioned, but we don't also have Spider-Boy coming out. So it kind of seems like, okay, it can get its own thing going. And by the end of this, you do get that weird, wacky deal of, oh, crap, we are getting back to Superior Spider-Man. Like, you get Cyrano de Bergerac Doc Ock in this, which is fun. You also get the trash-talking spiders in this, too.
Yeah, they're pretty funny.
They start out here, and they are in Oscorp, and Ock is pissed. They had to sneak in. They had to sneak in through the vents, and he's like, I am Dr. Octopus. I don't sneak in vents. And Peter says, you just broke in the place and wrecked it just a month ago. Of course we have to sneak in. You're a villain. But then you see the spiders that he has in the thing, and they end up spelling out, it is a Charlotte's Web type thing where they spell out, you suck auto.
Yeah.
Doc Ock is just there, doing his ransom raves that he always does. And he has a plan. They have to get to Supernova, stop her. Later, he says, and almost gets like, he should have stopped when he was ahead, said, I need what we're going to get. I need it to save her or, maybe subdue or maybe kill her. And then it's too far. But he ends up even revealing where they're going to go when he says, I have my new master plan, because he's thinking of the master planner base under the ocean. But the problem is this plan is going to have to take Peter suiting up and pretending that he's the Doc Ock Superior Spider-Man. And a lot of times some stories like this might get wonky, might get confusing. It doesn't here. It's pretty funny. The way that it plays out, they do have to save Anna. That's like the big thing. We have to stop the supernova so that we can save Anna Maria. So they decide they are going to do it. And there's a funny play where they are going back and forth with each other. And then at points, Doc Ock's just yelling at Peter. And he's not saying anything. And he says, please say something. Peter gets the mask on and says, the die is cast. And it's like, you look at that glee on Doc Ock's face.
He loves it.
There's nothing better than
proud
for Peter Parker Spider-Man to be in his Superior Spider-Man suit and say the die is cast. He thinks it's the greatest thing ever. It was pretty good because the whole plan here is Peter's going to have to impersonate it's weird. He has to impersonate himself, but as Doc Ock being himself Superior Spider-Man. So that's the twist. That's the fun of the issue. We then go off to the whole Hudson Valley abandoned AIM base where Supernova has Anna. Anna's smart. And she starts, at first I thought she was being nice. I actually thought that she wasn't really trying. But the thing is, aren't you hungry? I can cook us up something. I am a world-class chef. Supernova says, really? I don't have to eat.
Yeah, I don't eat.
And that's part of the things that she hates. Like, this is only going to get her mad. Like, you cook me something. I'm a living son. Because of that stupid, what she thinks was Spider-Man. And then Anna's like, oh, okay. Now she has to think of another reason or way to get, because she wanted to get out of the cell and then try to do something or anything. But now she's got to get Supernova out of the way to leave for a bit so she can try to finagle her way out. So she's like, oh, must be tough. You're all cramped up in that whole containment pod. And now you get up, and this is probably the first time you've been in an enclosed area again, because they are down below in these like jail cell type things in the space. And she's like, yeah, it must be tough. The walls are probably closing in on you, right? It must be really tough. And that's where Supernova's like, I got to get going. And runs off. It is kind of funny, but Anna's pretty smart. She realizes it. And that's where Supernova's like, I got to go check on something. I'll be right back, and leaves. So then Anna's able to try to pry open. What she's doing is trying to get to because there's those laser bars.
Yeah.
She's trying to get to the control panel and get up. The thing that will work in her benefit, this is an abandoned AIM thing. This place is a wreck. I mean, where this jail cell is, like, everything's falling apart. So I think she'll be able to do that. Though, are you with me? If you look, I think she could just get on the ground and crawl out.
I was going to say that, but I think those bars are moving up and down, though.
Yeah, they might. That'd be a weird play, like you can't see in the motion, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm not even making a joke about her size. I'm telling you, all of us could get down on our knees and crawl through them.
But if you look at the page before, they're lower, so I think they move.
But Supernova leaves. In the meantime, you end up having Doc Ock and Peter, and they are under the sea. They are going, and finally, Peter realizes they're going to the Master Planner base. And this is a base during Superior Spider-Man. And the problem that Doc Ock has here is that when he had this going, he was Spider-Man. So any sort of entrance, any sort of scans, they're Peter who needs to be scanned. The problem is that when Peter gets in here, he doesn't quite know how to act like Doc Ock at first. Mm-hmm. It's pretty funny. But you have like a funny little play. I actually thought this was funny where they're in this deal in the Squid Marine, ship. And Doc says, oh, no, it's the Octo sub. And then Peter says, why didn't you call it the Cephalopod? And Doc Ock is so angry that he didn't come up with the name. He's like, that's pretty good. Sure. Yeah. But they end up seeing the Master Planner base. Peter kind of freaks out. Oh, my God. And the thing about this is, though, since Superior Spider-Man, this base has had these minions, these guys in
just
there.
Just chilling down there.
Just chilling. And you
collecting
see them.
A paycheck.
They are bored as hell, but they're getting a check. I like the one guy's laying around in his underwear.
Yeah, why
he's
not?
there with his pad. He's there with this iPad. I guess you get good Wi-Fi under the sea. He's there. Other guys are on their phone. One guy, I would really love to say the two guys are playing rock, paper, scissors, but they just seem to be arguing with each other.
Yeah, one guy's eating dog food.
Yeah, one guy's eating dog food. The other guys are playing checkers. One guy just got out of the shower. They're like all there. And what it looks like is, they're like the AIM soldiers of Doc Ock is what they kind of are. But they end up having the Superior Spider-Man, outfits. That's where they were there. They were there for Superior Spider-Man. So that's why Doc Ock needed Peter. So they kind of park the sub. There's an alert. And now Peter has to go in. But the problem is these guys were told by Superior Spider-Man Doc Ock, kill anybody on sight. It doesn't matter what they look like.
Safety's off.
Yeah, safety's off. It doesn't matter until you know that it's me. But the problem is it's not just by sight because Peter comes in and these guys are fired up. Just imagine these guys have been waiting for anything to happen for however long you would guess this is. It's a long time and they're there and they get all equipment out. It is World War X for them. They are screaming and yelling coming out of the locker room at halftime. And as they're doing that, gearing up, you do end up, it's funny where Doc Ock's talking about how great, how great he is. And oh my God, I hate you, Peter, and you ended up ruining things down here. All this stuff going on. And Peter's like, oh, no, this is like a great personal victory for me back in the day. I had to get Aunt May's medicine. And I feel like Doc Ock's like, Aunt May, I remember. It's so funny.
Well, it's a cool callback because it's actually to The Amazing Spider-Man 33 from the 60s. So
yeah, so you have this whole play there, and it's funny where he's like, I kind of regret that I almost killed Aunt May, so little shout out to Aunt May for you. I regret that. And Peter's like, whatever, I'm sure you do, Otto. And then they go, and at this point, Otto's still in the sub. Peter has gone into the base, and he runs into his minions, and they just open fire. They really are. They are trying to kill him. And Peter's yelling at them while he is zipping around, jumping off of walls, trying to go. And Doc Ock says, they don't think you're me. You have to act like me. And Peter doesn't understand. He's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you got to try to kill them. You got to fight them back and try to kill them. Then they'll realize it's me. And he's like, really? Okay. And even that, he's like, I don't want to do it. Doc Ock's yelling, attack them without mercy. And he'd say, I'd make them rue the day they would ever open fire upon me, tear into them. And then Peter punches one guy. It's funny. He goes, take that, you imbeciles. And then Doc Ock yells, you're doing it wrong. You have to use
the claws.
Yeah, the claws. These are all things that Peter would never use. That's why Superior Spider-Man was so crazy because it was Doc Ock. And he's like, use them. He's like, don't really want to use them. But then he starts doing it, and then he's talking trash. He's yelling. He's calling everybody wretch. He's ripping weapons in half. And then when he finally gets it, boom, he gets the Iron Spider deal and yells, I am the Superior Spider-Man, where he has all of the legs in the back. And then he says, well, and they all get down and said, okay, we realize it's you. It's such a goofy scene, but it is funny that Doc Ock is, it's like that class. It is Cyrano de Bergerac, but it's also that classic where Doc Ock just why can't I just go down there and I would have been able to do this so easy? And Peter just doesn't understand, but he ends up doing it. It's funny where his arms crossed and he's like, that's more like it. And then he's trying to talk trash, but he keeps getting words wrong. He's like, you're worthless curs. I mean, curs. There are points where you think that these guys are going to realize what's. So this other guy gets up and says, hey, yeah, you're back, but what's going on? Why'd you return? What's happening? And Peter doesn't know what to say. So Doc Ock says, smack that guy in the face, give him the backhand. And he's like, what? And then he does. And then everybody's
Peter
like,
slaps the crap out of him.
Oh my God, he just demolishes him and then says, you don't need to know what I'm here for. Come on, all of you, to the vaults.
Never question me.
Yeah. And Doc Ock, why are you taking them to the vaults? They don't have to go. And that Peter's getting so fired up that he's like, all right, to the vaults we
Follow
go.
me, you adults.
Yeah. And Doc Ock, you didn't need to do that. He's like, I don't care. I'm having fun. And then you get the retinal scan. It does say, and he even uses this as to the guy, like, see, it is me, jerk. But they go into this vault, and that's where you get the quatritium, which is even more powerful than the tritium.
Mm-hmm.
And this
4 times.
Yeah. And Peter actually is like, oh my God, we did it. I mean, you did it. I mean, we did it. Like, this is crazy. But why do you want this? And now Doc Ock's like, you don't need to know, but we're going to use this to either, and that's where he says, we're either going to save her, we can depower her, we can kill her, whatever we have to do with Supernova.
We don't want to kill her.
We need. Yeah, and he doesn't want to do that. But the big play for Doc Ock is no, what we're going to be doing is definitely saving Maria. So whatever happens between, we're just going to have to go. So the guys then say, well, what do we do now, boss? Can we go home now? Everything's good? Doc Ock's yelling in Peter's ear.
No,
you
don't
tell
let
them
go.
to go back in that room and sit down till I need them again because we might need an army later. And Peter goes, yeah, you guys go. Doc Ock's like, you son of a gun. Like, that's not what I wanted you to do. But they all go.
And he says, put a nice meal on the company card, too.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, put a meal, get a nice meal. You guys deserve it. Now, you know that at some point they're going to need an army, and Doc Ock's going to throw this in Peter's face. But what are these guys going to do? I have a feeling that they kind of hang somewhere together, and they'll be able to be grabbed again. It'll be a funny.
They're not going to be able to integrate back into society.
No, they've just been under this. It's crazy. They've been
at least 5 years.
This time. Yeah, it's nuts. So yeah, they're going to do that, and then Doc Ock has another plan as well. Because when Peter goes back, he has the quatrinium. They get it when they go back to Oscorp and get in there to do some experiments. You end up where that's where the spiders are like, Petey, watch out, because Doc Ock has plans, and what he's going to do is knock out Peter and become Superior Spider-Man again. He ends up having this whole thing where he can go with the suit that kind of is grabbing stuff and makes him knock out, and then he wakes up on a table. Doc Ock has the helmet on where he's going to transfer the deal back and forth to be the Superior Spider-Man again.
Yeah, that's the original helmet thing.
Which is pretty cool because that gets you the idea of like, oh crap, it's going to be a Superior Spider-Man book. I doubt that's how it's going to work out, but it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, somehow I think that Doc Ock's going to have some weird, I don't know, he's going to have a weird way that he's going to do this, but it's not fully that. I don't know, we'll see. Because the next issue kind of looks a little crazy as well, but it looks good. It's fun. And this is the thing. If people have listened to our podcast, I will bitch and moan about Zeb Wells telling his jokes and whatnot. But it's because Zeb Wells can't decide what the book wants to be. It ends up being really dark, and then the next page you're telling jokes. Then you're back to dark and then telling jokes again. This just is one free and clear deal. This is how it is. It's a jokey, quippy book. Doc Ock's out of his mind, but that's even fun. And I think overall it works out. It works out throughout. And I think that it's weird. I like the first 2 issues, but I think that this one actually is maybe a little better than those because of the idea that it looks like we're going forward with something I never even thought, like you said, about the Superior. Even if it's for a little bit, an arc or a couple, even if it's like he goes and we're all worried and he goes, saves Anna, and then just gives Peter back his deal. We'll see. We'll see how it is. But what would you give it?
I love it, man. I could read this all day. It reminds me of the old series. And I love this version of Doc Ock, so I'm going to give it a 9.
Yeah, I think I'm a 9 as well. This Doc Ock is great.
This
is a great thing. So it's really good. So I suggest it, even if you are one of the, I'm not going to say haters. I'll say if you don't love everything Dan Slott, just forget who's writing it. Pretend Dr. Matt here is writing it, and then you might like it better.
Exactly.
Say, this is great. That Matt, he can really write a comic.
Well, back in the day when I was reading this, I didn't know who Dan Slott was. I just read this thing. And
that's the problem. Some people you shouldn't ever know or learn who they are. And
I agree with that.
Exactly. Like me and you. Like the minute they find out about us,
never know.
Done. They never will.
Weird science
is the revolution.